It all began as a foolish joke, one of those ideas that seems amusing after a few drinks, when no one stops to think about what could go wrong. That weekend, we were staying at a lake house to celebrate my birthday. It was just me, my husband Ryan, and a group of close friends. All night, Ryan had been the center of playful teasing, making corny dad jokes, and acting like a slightly overprotective partner while everyone laughed along. Then my best friend Claire casually suggested, "What if we leave him at a rest stop tomorrow when we stop for gas? Just for fun." Everyone laughed, and in that moment of excitement, I agreed too. I wish I hadn't. The next morning, halfway back to the city, we pulled over for fuel. Ryan went inside the station to buy some snacks, and Claire glanced at me with a knowing look, as if to say, "Now's the time." I hesitated, but the others encouraged me, brushing it off as harmless. They joked that he could easily call a ride and that it would all be funny later. Against my better judgment, I started the car and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw him standing there on the side of the road, holding 2 bags of chips, clearly confused. I thought he'd call immediately, but an hour passed without a word. Then my phone buzzed, but it wasn't Ryan. It was my mom checking if we had reached home safely. A strange uneasiness settled in my chest. When we finally arrived home, I tried calling him. No answer. I sent a message. "Okay, the joke's over. You can be mad now." Still nothing. His phone went straight to voicemail. Anxiety started creeping in. Claire tried to reassure me, suggesting he might be ignoring me on purpose to teach me a lesson. But deep inside, I knew Ryan wasn't that kind of person. I contacted the gas station, the local police, even nearby towing services. No one had seen him. The laughter from earlier replayed in my mind, now sounding cruel and mocking. By evening, I was pacing the living room, checking my phone constantly. Later, Claire and I drove back to the rest stop, searching along the dark roadside and calling his name into the night. There was no sign of him. His car keys, wallet, and everything else were still at home. My hands trembled as I gripped the steering wheel, guilt tightening around my chest. The cold air stung as I whispered into the silence, begging him to come back. But the road gave no answer. That night, sleep barely came. Every small noise startled me. I couldn't stop picturing his face as we drove away, the shock and hurt I hadn't truly noticed until it was too late. 3 days passed without any news. The police officially declared him missing. Reporters began showing up, asking questions I couldn't answer. My friends distanced themselves. The same people who had laughed with me now avoided even making eye contact. My mother cried over the phone, unable to understand how I could have gone along with something so thoughtless. I had no defense. Every second felt like punishment. I barely ate, barely moved, just sat by the window hoping to see headlights that never appeared. Then, on the 5th night, there was a knock at the door. My heart nearly stopped. When I opened it, Ryan was standing there. He was covered in dirt, his face pale, his expression cold and distant. He didn't look like the man I knew. His jacket was torn, his hands trembling, yet his voice was unnervingly steady. "Hi," he said quietly. "Did you miss me?" My legs almost gave way. I stepped forward, trying to hug him, but he moved back, his face unreadable. "You left me," he said softly, "alone, miles away." Tears streamed down my face as I tried to explain, to apologize, to tell him it was meant as a joke. He only stared at me. "A joke," he repeated. "You thought it was funny to abandon your husband in the middle of nowhere?" His voice remained calm, but that calmness was more frightening than anger. He walked past me into the house, looking around as though he were seeing it for the first time. Then his gaze shifted to Claire, who had rushed over after hearing he'd returned. "You found it amusing too, didn't you?" he said, his tone cold. Claire stumbled over her words, insisting it wasn't meant to cause harm. Ryan responded with a faint, unsettling smile. He didn't raise his voice or make any sudden moves. Instead, he quietly began collecting his belongings, his guitar, his books, his jacket. When I asked where he was going, he replied gently, "Somewhere people don't turn my pain into entertainment." Then he looked at me, really looked at me, and the sadness in his eyes broke something inside me. "You didn't just leave me on that road," he said. You left me long before that." With that, he walked out, closing the door softly behind him. I thought that was the end, but it wasn't. A few weeks later, whispers began spreading. People at work said Ryan had told everyone what happened. Security footage from the gas station surfaced online. The clip showing me laughing as we drove away went viral. My reputation shattered. Friends stopped reaching out. My workplace placed me on leave. Even Claire eventually moved away. Everyone had seen what I did. And suddenly, there was nothing funny about it anymore. One night, I found a note slipped under my door. I recognized Ryan's handwriting immediately. It contained just one sentence. "I forgive you, but I won't forget." That's when I understood something painful. Being forgiven doesn't always mean things can go back to how they were. Sometimes it simply means the other person has chosen to let go and move on for good.